The silk of my white suit felt smooth against my skin as I stood at the altar, my hand clasped tightly in Ji-woo's. His palm was warm, steady, everything I'd come to rely on over the past 2 years. The hotel ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers, their light dancing across the faces of 200 guests who'd come to witness our union. I couldn't stop smiling. Min-jun, Ji-woo whispered, his eyes crinkling at the corners the way they always did when he was happy. You look nervous. I'm not nervous, I lied, squeezing his hand. I'm just overwhelmed. In a good way. The officiant cleared his throat, and the room fell into a hushed silence. My heart hammered against my ribs as he began the ceremony, his voice echoing through the grand space. I caught sight of Tae-hyun standing off to the side, his hands clasped professionally in front of him. As my best friend and wedding planner, he'd orchestrated every detail of this day. He gave me a small nod, but something flickered across his face. Was that worry? I pushed the thought aside. Today was perfect. Today was the beginning of my new life. If anyone has any reason why these two should not be joined in marriage, the officiant intoned, speak now or forever hold your peace. The traditional words. No one ever actually objects at weddings. I started to breathe out in relief. The doors at the back of the ballroom exploded open. The sound reverberated through the room like a gunshot. Guests gasped and turned in their seats. Ji-woo's hand went rigid in mine. And I couldn't breathe. Because standing in the doorway, rain-soaked and breathing hard, was the man I'd spent 3 years trying to forget. Stop the wedding, Tae-hyun's voice rang out, raw and desperate. Please. You have to stop. Time seemed to fracture. I watched him stride down the aisle, water dripping from his black coat onto the pristine white runner. His hair was longer than I remembered, wild and unkempt. His face was thinner, more angular, but those eyes, those dark, intense eyes that had once looked at me like I was his entire world, were exactly the same. Tae-hyun. The name escaped my lips before I could stop it, barely a whisper. Ji-woo's hand slipped from mine. Security, someone shouted, but Tae-hyun raised a manila folder above his head. I have proof, he announced, his gaze locked on mine. The entire room faded away until it was just the two of us, separated by 20 feet and 3 years of silence. Min-jun were still married. The divorce was never finalized. The floor tilted beneath me. What? That's impossible, Tae-hyun's voice cut through the chaos as he rushed forward. Min-jun filed for divorce 3 years ago after you abandoned him. It went through. I was there. Tae-hyun's jaw clenched. The signature on those papers wasn't mine. It was forged. He pulled documents from the folder, holding them out. I have the original documents, handwriting analysis, everything. Our marriage is still legally binding. The room erupted into chaos. Guests began talking all at once, their voices rising in a cacophony of shock and scandal. My mother's voice cut through somewhere behind me. What is the meaning of this? But I couldn't focus on any of it. I was staring at Tae-hyun, at the desperation etched into every line of his face, at the way his hands trembled as he held those papers. You left me, I heard myself say, my voice breaking. You disappeared without a word. For 3 years, Tae-hyun. 3 years. I know. His voice cracked. I know, and I'm sorry, but please, you can't marry him. Not when you're still legally married to me. Ji-woo stepped back, his face pale. Min-jun. I reached for him, but he shook his head, withdrawing further. The hurt in his eyes felt like a knife to my chest. Everyone please remain calm, Tae-hyun announced, his wedding planner voice taking over. There's clearly been some mistake. No mistake. A new voice joined the fray. I turned to see a tall man in a detective's badge entering through the still open doors, Hyun-woo, Tae-hyun's older brother. He'd always been intimidating with his sharp features and sharper mind. Behind him were 2 uniformed police officers. My stomach dropped. I'm Detective Kang Hyun-woo, he announced, showing his credentials. I've been investigating this case for the past 2 months. The documents Mr. Park is holding are authentic. The divorce filed 3 years ago contains a forged signature. Until this matter is resolved, any subsequent marriage would be considered bigamy. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. No, I breathed. No, this can't be happening. Ji-woo's hand found my shoulder, gentle but distant. Min-jun, I need a moment. His voice was steady, but I could hear the devastation underneath. I'm sorry. Ji-woo, please. But he was already walking away, moving through the crowd toward the side exit. Several guests parted for him, their expressions a mixture of pity and morbid curiosity. I started to follow, but my legs wouldn't cooperate. Min-jun. Tae-hyun's voice was closer now. He'd moved up the aisle, standing just a few feet away. This close, I could see the dark circles under his eyes, the way his clothes hung loose on his frame. I know you have every right to hate me. But I had to come. I couldn't let you. Don't. I held up a hand, my whole body shaking. Don't you dare. You don't get to show up after 3 years and... My vision blurred. The chandelier lights became stars, spinning wildly. The faces of guests merged into a watercolor of shock and judgment. Somewhere far away I heard Seo-jun calling my name. The last thing I saw before my knees buckled was Tae-hyun lunging forward, his arms reaching for me. Then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was in a small room off the ballroom, the bridal suite. Someone had loosened my collar and placed a cold cloth on my forehead. Seo-jun sat beside me, his face drawn with worry. Hey, he said softly. Take it easy. I sat up too quickly and the room spun. Jiwoo. Where's Jiwoo? He left. I'm sorry, Min-jun. He said he needed time to think. The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd lost him. In the span of 10 minutes I'd lost everything. Where is he? I asked, even though I wasn't sure which he I meant. Tae-hyun is being questioned by Hyun-woo in the manager's office. The guests have been sent home. Your mother is... Seo-jun grimaced. Handling things. I dropped my head into my hands. 3 years ago, Tae-hyun had disappeared without explanation, leaving me with nothing but questions and a shattered heart. I'd spent months looking for him, then months more learning to function without him. I'd filed for divorce to finally close that chapter of my life. And I'd met Jiwoo, kind, patient Jiwoo who'd helped me remember how to smile again. Now Tae-hyun was back, claiming our divorce was fraudulent. Claiming someone had forged his signature. But who? And why? I stood on shaky legs, ignoring Seo-jun's protests. I need answers. Min-jun, you should rest. I need answers. The words came out sharper than I intended. 3 years, Seo-jun. He left me for 3 years, and now he shows up at my wedding with some story about forged documents? I deserve to know what the hell is going on. Seo-jun's expression shifted, something I couldn't quite read flickering across his features before he masked it. Of course. I'll take you to them. As we walked through the empty ballroom, past the abandoned flower arrangements and untouched champagne glasses, memories flooded back unbidden. Tae-hyun and I meeting at a cafe, him spilling coffee on my sketchbook and offering to buy me dinner as an apology. Our first kiss in the rain outside his apartment. The way he proposed on the anniversary of that coffee incident, getting down on one knee with tears in his eyes. The morning I woke up to find him gone, his closet empty, his phone disconnected as if he'd never existed at all. I pushed open the door to the manager's office. Tae-hyun was sitting in a chair, still damp, still holding those damn documents. Hyun-woo stood beside him, arms crossed. They both looked up as I entered. Min-jun, Tae-hyun started, rising to his feet. Don't. I held up a hand. Just, tell me everything. From the beginning. Why did you leave? Where have you been? And who the hell forged your signature on our divorce papers? Tae-hyun's face crumpled with an emotion I'd never seen there before. Fear. I don't know who forged it, he admitted. But I have my suspicions. And Min-jun? When you hear what I've been through, what happened to me? He took a shuddering breath. I'm afraid you won't believe me. I crossed my arms, my heart a war zone of anger and something dangerously close to the love I thought I'd buried. Try me. The address Tae-hyun gave me led to a modest apartment building on the outskirts of Seoul, far from the luxurious penthouse we'd once shared in Gangnam. I stood outside his door for a full minute before knocking, my knuckles hovering in the air as doubt coursed through me. What was I doing here? Jiwoo hadn't answered any of my calls. My mother had stopped speaking to me after I'd insisted on hearing Tae-hyun out. And Seo-jun. Seo-jun had looked almost ill when I'd told him I was coming here, but he'd simply nodded and said, "Be careful." I knocked. The door opened immediately as if Tae-hyun had been waiting on the other side. He'd changed into dry clothes, a simple gray sweater and jeans that hung loose on his frame. Up close, in the harsh fluorescent light of the hallway, he looked even more worn than he had at the wedding. You came, he breathed, relief flooding his features. You said you'd explain everything. My voice came out harder than I intended, but I needed that armor. So explain. He stepped aside and I entered the small apartment. It was sparse, a couch, a small table, a kitchenette that looked barely used. Nothing like the home we'd built together, filled with my architectural sketches and his legal books, the art we'd collected from weekend market trips. This place looked like a temporary stop. Like he was still running. Sit, please, Tae-hyun gestured to the couch. Can I get you something? Water? Answers, I said, remaining standing. I want answers, Tae-hyun. 3 years. You owe me that much. He flinched but nodded, running a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture I remembered too well. You're right. You deserve the truth. He took a deep breath. Min-jun, the night I disappeared. I didn't leave because I wanted to. I was taken. My arms dropped to my sides. Taken? What do you mean taken? Kidnapped. The word fell between us like a stone. By loan sharks working for a man my father owed money to. A lot of money? I sank onto the couch, my legs suddenly unable to hold me. Your father? But he died when you were in university. And left behind debts I knew nothing about. Tae-hyun's voice was bitter as he sat across from me, maintaining distance. Illegal gambling debts. The kind that don't go away just because someone dies. They found me, Min-jun. They said either I paid what he owed or... He swallowed hard. They made it clear you'd be next. My blood ran cold. Me? They knew everything about us. Where we lived, where you worked, your daily routine. They showed me pictures, Min-jun. Pictures of you at your firm, getting coffee at that cafe you loved, walking home. His hands clenched into fists. They said if I didn't come with them willingly, if I contacted anyone or tried to get help, they'd make sure you paid the price. I couldn't breathe. So you just left? I left you a note. His voice cracked. I wrote you a letter explaining everything, begging you to trust me, telling you I loved you, but I had to go. I left it on our bed before they took me. I never got any note. The words came out hollow. I woke up and you were gone. Your clothes, your laptop, everything. Like you'd planned it. Tae-hyun's face went white. They must have taken it. They were watching the apartment. I thought, God, I thought you'd understand once you read it. I thought you'd know I would never just abandon you. Part of me wanted to believe him. But 3 years of pain, of sleepless nights wondering what I'd done wrong, of rebuilding myself from scratch. It wasn't so easy to just accept this story. You were gone for 6 months? I asked, remembering what he'd said at the wedding. What happened during that time? His jaw tightened. They held me in a warehouse outside Incheon. Made sure I couldn't contact anyone. After 3 months, they gave me a choice. Work off the debt or they'd start collecting from my loved ones. They showed me updated pictures of you, Min-jun. Recent ones. I knew they were still watching. My stomach turned. How much did he owe? 500 million won. I inhaled sharply. $500,000. An impossible sum. They had connections, illegal ones. They got me out of the country on a fake passport, sent me to work at construction sites in Southeast Asia. Brutal work, 14-hour days, barely enough to eat. But I was alive and you were safe. That's all that mattered. He stood and walked to a drawer, pulling out a worn passport with a name that wasn't his and a stack of faded photographs. He handed them to me. The pictures showed a Tae-hyun I barely recognized, gaunt, sunburned, covered in dust and bruises. Construction sites. Cramped sleeping quarters with a dozen other workers. My hands trembled as I flipped through them. It took me 2 years to pay off the debt, he continued quietly. 2 years of my life just gone. When I finally finished, they let me go. Just like that. I came back to Seoul 6 months ago. I looked up sharply. 6 months? You've been back for 6 months and you didn't? I tried. The anguish in his voice stopped me. I went to our apartment but you'd moved. I went to your firm but they said you'd switched companies. I tried calling your old number, disconnected. I had no way to find you, Min-jun. It was like you'd erased every trace of me from your life. Because you were gone. I shot back, standing. Because I thought you'd left me. I couldn't stay in that apartment, surrounded by memories of someone who just vanished. I had to start over. I know, and I don't blame you. He reached out, then seemed to think better of it, his hand falling back to his side. When I finally tracked down Seo-jun at his wedding planning office 2 months ago, he told me you'd moved on. That you were engaged. Happy. My heart stopped. You spoke to Seo-jun? 2 months ago? Tae-hyun nodded. He said you were finally healing, that seeing me would destroy you all over again. He begged me to stay away, to let you have your happiness. His voice dropped. And I almost did. I almost let you go, Min-jun. Because I love you enough to want you to be happy, even if it's not with me. Then why show up at the wedding? The question came out as barely a whisper. Because 3 days ago, I went to officially file dissolution papers, to accept that our marriage was over and let you marry Ji-woo properly. That's when I discovered the divorce had already been filed 3 years ago. But Min-jun. He pulled out the documents again, pointing to the signature line. That's not my signature. Look. He showed me his passport, his ID, several other documents with his real signature. Then the divorce papers. They were different. Subtly but unmistakably different. Someone forged these, he said. Someone wanted us divorced without my knowledge or consent. When I realized you were about to commit bigamy unknowingly, I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't let you start your new life built on a legal lie. My mind was reeling. Everything he was saying, if it was true, if any of it was true. I need air, I muttered, heading for the door. Min-jun, wait. But I was already in the hallway, my phone in my hand. I needed to talk to someone. I dialed Jiwoo. It rang 4 times before he answered. Min-jun. His voice was calm, but I could hear the exhaustion underneath. Jiwoo, I'm so sorry. I know this is insane, I know, but I need to understand what happened. Tae-hyun is saying he was kidnapped, that he... I know. I stopped walking. What? I know about the kidnapping. About the debt. Hyun-woo sent me the preliminary investigation files an hour ago. There was a long pause. Min-jun, I believe him. The world tilted again. You do. The evidence is compelling. Bank records show large payments being made from various overseas accounts over 2 years. Payments that match the debt amount. Immigration has records of someone matching Tae-hyun's description working illegally in 3 different countries. The loan sharks he mentioned are known criminals. Jiwoo's voice was gentle, professional, his doctor voice. What happened to him was real. I leaned against the wall, my legs weak. Then who forged the divorce papers? That's what we need to find out. He paused. Min-jun, I need you to be honest with me. Do you still love him? The question hit me like a freight train. Jiwoo. Because I can see it. I saw it the moment he walked through those doors. The way you looked at him, the way you said his name. His voice cracked slightly. I'm not angry. I just need to know. Tears burned my eyes. I don't know. I thought I was over him. I thought I'd buried those feelings, but you can't just turn off 3 years of love, even with 3 years of absence. Jiwoo finished for me. I understand. More than you know. You deserve better than this, I whispered. I deserve the truth. And so do you. He took a shaky breath. Take the time you need, Min-jun. Figure out what really happened. Find out who forged those papers and why. And then, another pause. And then decide where your heart really belongs. Jiwoo. I love you enough to let you find your answers. But Min-jun, I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me that whatever you decide, you'll be honest. With him, with me, and with yourself. No more running from the truth. I closed my eyes, tears finally spilling over. I promise. After we hung up, I stood in that empty hallway for a long time, trying to process everything. Tae-hyun had been kidnapped. Held for ransom. Forced to work off his father's debts for 2 years in foreign countries. He'd come back to find me gone, moved on, engaged to someone else. And someone had forged his signature to make sure our divorce went through. But who? And why? I pulled up Seo-jun's contact and pressed call. He answered on the first ring. Min-jun? Are you okay? Where are you? I'm at Tae-hyun's apartment. He told me everything, about the kidnapping, the debt, all of it. I took a breath. He also said he spoke to you 2 months ago. Is that true? There was a long silence on the other end. Seo-jun? Yes. His voice was barely audible. Yes, it's true. My grip tightened on the phone. And you didn't tell me? You knew he was alive, that he was back, and you didn't say anything? He asked me not to. Seo-jun's voice rose defensively. Min-jun, you were finally happy. You and Jiwoo were planning a wedding. You'd stopped having nightmares about Tae-hyun. You were healing. What was I supposed to do, drag you back into that pain? You were supposed to tell me the truth. I shot back. You were supposed to let me make that choice, Seo-jun. You're my best friend. And as your best friend, I wanted to protect you. He sounded desperate now. You didn't see yourself after he left, Min-jun. You barely ate for months. You stopped going to work. You nearly lost your job. It took 2 years for you to start living again. I couldn't watch you go through that again. I wanted to argue, but part of me understood. Part of me remembered those dark months, the way Seo-jun had shown up every day with food, with distractions, with unwavering support. I need to see the divorce papers, I said finally. The original documents. Where would they be filed? The family court in Yeonggu. But Min-jun, Hyun-woo probably already has copies. I need to see them myself. I need to understand how this happened. Okay, I'll meet you there tomorrow morning. I'll help you look through everything. He paused. Min-jun, I'm sorry. I was just trying to do what I thought was best. I know, I said quietly. But Seo-jun? No more secrets. If there's anything else you're not telling me, now's the time. Another long pause. There's nothing else, he finally said. I promise. We hung up and I turned to find Tae-hyun standing in his doorway watching me. You believe me, he said softly. It wasn't a question. I believe something terrible happened to you, I corrected. But there are still too many unanswered questions. The forged signature, the timing, why someone would want to. I stopped, a horrifying thought occurring to me. Who knew about your father's debts? No one. He kept it hidden from everyone, even me. Someone knew. My mind was racing now, connecting dots I didn't want to connect. Someone knew enough to either pay off the loan sharks or convince them to let you go. Someone who wanted you gone, wanted our marriage ended. Min-jun, what are you thinking? I pulled out my phone and opened my photos, scrolling back to 2 months ago. There, a picture from my engagement party. Seo-jun, Ji-woo, and me all smiling at the camera. But in the background, partially hidden behind a plant, someone else stood watching. Someone I hadn't noticed when the photo was taken. I zoomed in and my blood turned to ice. Min-jun? Tae-hyun stepped closer. What is it? I turned the phone to show him the figure in the background, outside the restaurant window, barely visible in the reflection. It was Seo-jun. But not the Seo-jun in the photo with us. This was Seo-jun hours earlier, according to the timestamp in the reflection of the digital clock visible in the window. He'd been there early watching before the party even started. He was following me, I whispered. But why would? My phone buzzed with a text from Hyunwoo, urgent. Got the security footage from the courthouse. You need to see this. Attached was a grainy video file. I pressed play, my heart hammering. The footage showed the courthouse steps 3 years ago. A figure in a baseball cap and mask approached. Careful to avoid the cameras but not careful enough. As he reached the top step, the wind caught his jacket, revealing something on his shirt. A logo. The logo of Seo-jun's wedding planning company. The same company logo he'd had printed on shirts for his staff that year. I looked up at Tae-hyun, seeing my own horror reflected in his eyes. Seo-jun, I breathed. Seo-jun forged your signature. But why? Why would my best friend, the person who'd been there for me through everything, sabotage my marriage? My phone rang again. Seo-jun's name flashed on the screen. With shaking hands I answered. Min-jun. His voice was strange, tight. Don't go to the courthouse tomorrow. Why not? Just trust me. Please. Don't dig into this any further. Seo-jun, I saw the security footage. The figure in the baseball cap. That was you, wasn't it? You filed those divorce papers. The silence on the other end stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. Then quietly, I did it for you. My world shattered. What? I did it for you, Min-jun. For us. His voice was shaking now, emotion bleeding through. I couldn't watch him hurt you anymore. I couldn't watch you waste away waiting for someone who was never coming back. You needed to move on and he choked on the words. I needed you to see me. Really see me. After everything I'd done for you, everything I'd been to you, I just needed you to see that I could make you happy. That I was right there, that I'd always been right there. Seo-jun. Horror crawled up my spine. What are you saying? I'm saying I love you. The words exploded from him, raw and desperate. I've loved you since university, since before you ever met Tae-hyun. I watched you fall for him, marry him, build a life with him, and I stayed by your side because that's what you do when you love someone. You stay. Even when it kills you. Tears streamed down my face. The debt. The loan sharks. Did you? No. God, no. I would never hurt him like that. His father's debts were real, the kidnapping was real. But when Tae-hyun came back 6 months ago, when he found me, his voice dropped to a whisper. I paid them, Min-jun. I paid the loan sharks extra to tell him to stay away from you. I told him you'd moved on, that seeing him would destroy you. I thought if enough time passed, if you married Ji-woo, if you finally forgot about Tae-hyun, maybe you'd see me. Maybe you'd realize I was the one who'd been there all along. My knees buckled. Tae-hyun caught me, his arm around my waist. Where are you right now? I demanded. It doesn't matter. I'm so sorry, Min-jun. I never meant for it to go this far. I never meant to hurt you. I just loved you too much. Seo-jun, where are you? But the line went dead. I stood there in Tae-hyun's doorway, his arms still supporting me, my entire understanding of the past 3 years crumbling around me. My best friend. The person I'd trusted most in the world after Tae-hyun left. The person who'd held me while I cried, who'd helped me rebuild my life. He'd been in love with me. And he torn apart my marriage because of it? Min-jun. Tae-hyun's voice was gentle. What do we do now? I looked up at him, at this man I'd loved, lost, and never stopped loving even when I'd tried. This man who'd suffered for 3 years to keep me safe. This man whose signature had been forged by someone I'd trusted with my life. We find him, I said, my voice hard with determination. We find Seo-jun and we get the truth. All of it. But even as I said it, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I'm sorry I couldn't be the one to make you happy. Tell Ji-woo he won. Tell Tae-hyun I'm sorry. And Min-jun. I'm sorry I loved you wrong. Goodbye. My blood turned to ice. No. I was already dialing Hyun-woo, already running for the stairs. No, 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 Seo-jun, don't you dare. Behind me, Tae-hyun grabbed his jacket and followed, neither of us knowing if we'd reach our friend in time, or what we'd find when we did. The drive to Seo-jun's apartment felt like an eternity. Tae-hyun sat in the passenger seat of my car, his phone pressed to his ear as he coordinated with Hyun-woo. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles had gone white, weaving through late-night traffic with a desperation that bordered on reckless. Hyun-woo's already on his way, Tae-hyun said, hanging up. He's sending patrol cars to Seo-jun's last known locations, his apartment, his office, the places he frequents. That message, I said, my voice hoarse. It sounded like a goodbye. We'll find him, Tae-hyun said firmly, but I could hear the worry beneath his words. We'll find him in time. I wanted to believe him. But the knot of dread in my stomach kept tightening with every red light, every minute that passed. My phone rang. Ji-woo's name flashed on the screen. Min-jun, where are you? His voice was tense. Hyun-woo just called me. He said something about Seo-jun. He forged the divorce papers, I said, the words tumbling out. Seo-jun forged Tae-hyun's signature 3 years ago. And Ji-woo I swallowed hard. He's in love with me. He's been in love with me for years. He orchestrated everything to keep Tae-hyun and me apart. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. Where is he now? I don't know. He sent me a message that sounded like, I couldn't finish the sentence. I'm coming. Send me your location. The line went dead before I could protest. We screeched to a halt outside Seo-jun's apartment building. The lights in his unit were off, but I took the stairs 2 at a time anyway, Tae-hyun close behind. I pounded on the door. Seo-jun. Seo-jun, open up. Please. Nothing. Building manager, Tae-hyun said, already pulling out his phone. We need them to open the door. There's no time. I stepped back and slammed my shoulder against the door. Pain radiated down my arm, but the door didn't budge. Min-jun, stop, you'll hurt yourself. I hit it again. And again. Min-jun. Tae-hyun grabbed my arms, pulling me back. Stop. We'll find another way. I sagged against him, my breath coming in ragged gasps. He's my best friend. How did I not see it? How did I not know? Because you trusted him, Tae-hyun said softly. Because that's what good people do, they trust the ones they love. Footsteps echoed in the stairwell. Hyun-woo appeared, badge in hand, followed by 2 officers and the building manager fumbling with a ring of keys. Step aside, Hyun-woo ordered. The manager's hands shook as he unlocked the door. It swung open to reveal a dark, empty apartment. My heart sank. He's not here, I whispered. Hyun-woo flicked on the lights and moved through the space with practiced efficiency. Check every room. Look for notes, medications, anything that might tell us where he went. I walked through Seo-jun's apartment like a ghost. The living room where we'd spent countless nights watching movies, eating takeout, planning my wedding. The kitchen where he'd taught me how to make his grandmother's kimchi jjigae. The walls covered with photos, and my stomach twisted when I noticed how many of them featured me. Me at my graduation. Me at Seo-jun's birthday party. Me at coffee shops, at work events, at the beach. In almost every photo where we stood together, Seo-jun was looking at me instead of the camera. How had I never noticed? Min-jun. Tae-hyun's voice came from Seo-jun's bedroom, tight with tension. You need to see this. I found him standing in front of Seo-jun's desk, staring at the wall above it. My blood ran cold. It was covered with photos. But these weren't the casual snapshots from the living room. These were surveillance photos, me leaving my apartment, walking to work, meeting Ji-woo at restaurants. Photos of Tae-hyun too from before he disappeared. Photos of our old apartment, our wedding rings, even our marriage certificate. And in the center, a timeline. Written in Seo-jun's neat handwriting, charting every major event in my relationship with Tae-hyun, every moment after Tae-hyun disappeared, every step of my recovery. Red string connected various points like a detective's conspiracy board. Oh my god, I breathed. Hyun-woo appeared beside us, his expression grim. This is obsession. This goes back years. On the desk itself lay a leather journal. With trembling hands I opened it. September 15th, Min-jun looked beautiful today. He wore the blue sweater I gave him for his birthday. But then he showed up. Tae-hyun. Always Tae-hyun. Why can't Min-jun see that I'm the one who truly cares for him? I flipped forward, my horror growing with each entry. March 3rd, they got engaged today. I watched Min-jun cry with happiness as Tae-hyun put that ring on his finger. I wanted to die. But I smiled. I congratulated them. I'll always smile for him even when it kills me. Further still. August 12th, Tae-hyun's father had gambling debts. Massive ones. Dangerous people are looking for payment. I overheard Tae-hyun on the phone panicking. This could be my chance. If Tae-hyun disappeared, if he left Min-jun alone. No, I can't think like that. I would never hurt Min-jun like that. But then, weeks later. September 4th, he's gone. Tae-hyun is gone. Taken by loan sharks, apparently. Min-jun is devastated. I should feel guilty, that part of me is relieved, but I don't. This is my chance to show him what real devotion looks like. I'll be there for him. I'll help him heal. And maybe finally he'll see me. And finally, the entry that made my stomach turn. November 20th, filed the divorce papers today. I practiced Tae-hyun's signature for weeks until it was perfect. Min-jun needs closure. He needs to move on. He needs me. This is the right thing to do. I'm saving him from more pain. I'm freeing him. The journal fell from my hands. He's been planning this for years, I whispered. Since before Tae-hyun even disappeared. He didn't orchestrate the kidnapping, Hyun-woo said, reading over my shoulder. But he saw it as an opportunity. And when Tae-hyun came back, Seo-jun made sure he stayed away. Tae-hyun picked up another document from the desk. Bank statements. These show regular payments to an offshore account. Large sums. He looked at Hyun-woo. Could these be the payments to the loan sharks? The ones that kept me away? Hyun-woo examined them, his jaw tightening. These matched the amounts and timing of the pressure that kept you out of Seoul. Seo-jun was paying them to ensure you didn't come back. The room spun. How much? Over the past 6 months? Hyun-woo calculated quickly. Nearly 200 million won. 200 million won. Seo-jun had spent a fortune keeping Tae-hyun away from me. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. Hello? Min-jun. Seo-jun's voice was distant, hollow. You found my apartment. Where are you? I demanded. Seo-jun, please just tell me where you are. I'm somewhere I can think. Somewhere I've always felt close to you. There was a strange quality to his voice, resigned, almost peaceful. Did you read my journal? Yes. Then you know. You know everything now. He laughed bitterly. I meant every word, Min-jun. Every single word. I love you. I've always loved you. But I can see now that it was selfish. Wrong. I hurt you in ways I can never take back. Then come back, I pleaded. Let's talk about this. Let me help you. Help me? His voice cracked. Min-jun, I forged legal documents. I paid criminals to keep your husband away. I manipulated you for 3 years, let you believe you were crazy for still loving someone who abandoned you. There's no helping me. There's only prison. I don't care. Tears streamed down my face. You're my best friend. We'll figure this out. Just please, please don't do anything stupid. Your best friend, he repeated softly. That's all I ever was to you, wasn't it? That's all I ever could be. In the background I heard a sound that made my blood freeze. Water. Running water like a river or... The Han River, I gasped. He's at the Han River. Tae-hyun was already moving, shouting coordinates to Hyun-woo. Seo-jun, listen to me, I said, running for the stairs. Do you remember sophomore year? When I failed my thesis defense and thought my entire career was over? You called me at 2 in the morning, he said quietly, crying so hard you could barely breathe. And you showed up in 20 minutes with ice cream and terrible comedy movies. You stayed up all night with me. You helped me rewrite the entire thing. I burst out of the building, sprinting for my car. You saved me, Seo-jun. You've saved me so many times. Let me return the favor. That was different. You deserve to be saved. So do you. I was shouting now, Tae-hyun sliding into the passenger seat as I peeled away from the curb. You made mistakes. Terrible, unforgivable mistakes. But you're not a monster. You're someone who loved wrong, but you're not beyond saving. I don't know if I want to be saved, he whispered. I'm so tired, Min-jun. I'm so tired of loving you when you'll never love me back. My heart shattered. Seo-jun. Ji-woo is there, isn't he? With you. I glanced at my phone. Ji-woo had texted his location. He was heading to the Han River too, having tracked my phone. He's on his way. Good. Seo-jun's voice was fading, like he was moving away from the phone. Tell him he won. Tell him to take care of you. To make you happy the way I never could. Don't you dare finish that sentence, I snarled. Don't you dare make this about winning or losing. This isn't a competition, Seo-jun. This is your life. That's the thing, Min-jun. It stopped feeling like my life the moment I realized you'd never see me the way I see you. The line went dead. Faster, I told Tae-hyun, who'd taken over driving when I became too emotional. Drive faster. We reached the Han River at 11:47 p.m. The park along the water was mostly deserted, street lamps casting long shadows across the walking path. Hyunwoo's police car was already there, lights flashing. I jumped out before we'd fully stopped, scanning the darkness frantically. Seo-jun. Seo-jun. There. Tae-hyun pointed. At the edge of the river, silhouetted against the city lights reflected in the water, stood a lone figure. I ran. Seo-jun, stop. He turned, and even in the darkness I could see the tears streaming down his face. You shouldn't have come. Of course I came. I'll always come for you. I stopped a few feet away, hands outstretched. Please. Step away from the edge. Why? The anguish in his voice cut through me. Why should I, Min-jun? I've destroyed everything. Your marriage, your trust, 3 years of your life. I paid criminals to keep your husband away. I forged legal documents. I manipulated you, lied to you, betrayed everything our friendship stood for. He laughed bitterly. And for what? You were never going to love me. Not the way I wanted. You're right, I said, and he flinched. I was never going to love you romantically. But Seo-jun, I do love you. You're my best friend, my brother, and everything but blood. You've been there for me through the worst moments of my life. That has to count for something. It's not enough. His voice broke. It was never going to be enough. Behind me I heard more footsteps. Ji-woo appeared, breathing hard, his doctor's bag in hand, always prepared. Hyunwoo and Tae-hyun fanned out, trying to get closer without spooking Seo-jun. Seo-jun, Ji-woo called out, his voice calm and professional. My name is Dr. Park Ji-woo. I need you to listen to me very carefully. Seo-jun's eyes widened. You're the one who Min-jun chose, yes. Ji-woo moved slowly closer. But do you want to know something? When Tae-hyun walked through those wedding doors, do you know what I saw in Min-jun's eyes? Seo-jun didn't answer, but I saw his body tense. I saw the same thing I'm seeing right now as he looks at you, Ji-woo continued. Love. Pure, desperate love. Not romantic love, not with me, not with you. But family love. The kind that makes you drive across the city at midnight. The kind that makes you cry for someone else's pain. The kind that doesn't give up, even when every logical reason says you should. That's not, Seo-jun shook his head. I don't deserve. None of us deserve the love we're given, Ji-woo said softly. I don't deserve Min-jun's kindness after watching him still love another man. Tae-hyun doesn't deserve a second chance after disappearing. And you don't deserve Min-jun's forgiveness for what you've done. But love isn't about deserving. It's about choosing to give it anyway. Seo-jun's legs seemed to buckle slightly. I took a step closer. Do you remember what you told me when Tae-hyun first disappeared? I asked. You said that some pain is so big, it feels like it will swallow you whole. But you also said that pain isn't permanent. That even in the darkest moments, there's always a way forward. You taught me that, Seo-jun. You pulled me back from this exact edge, metaphorically, dozens of times. I was lying, he whispered. I was lying every time. The pain never went away. I just got better at hiding it. Then let us help you, I pleaded. The way you helped me. Let us pull you back. Please. For a long moment, Seo-jun just stood there, swaying slightly at the edge. The water rushed below, dark and hungry. I could see the war playing out on his face. Shame, love, desperation, exhaustion. I'm so sorry, he finally said. Min-jun, I'm so sorry. I know. I ruined everything. We'll fix it. I don't think I can be fixed. Then let us try anyway. His eyes met mine across the distance, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I saw a flicker of something other than despair. Hope, maybe, or at least the willingness to find it. Slowly, Seo-jun took a step back from the edge. I closed the distance between us, pulling him into my arms as he collapsed against me, sobbing. His whole body shook with the force of his grief, 3 years of hidden pain finally breaking free. I loved you wrong, he gasped between sobs. I loved you so wrong. I know, I said, holding him tighter. I know, but we'll make it right. Somehow we'll make it right. Hyun-woo approached cautiously. Seo-jun, I need you to come with me. You understand that, right? What you've done. I know. Seo-jun pulled away from me, wiping his eyes. I'll confess to everything. The forgery, the payments to the loan sharks, all of it. I won't fight the charges. Seo-jun, I started, but he shook his head. It's what I deserve, Min-jun. It's what's right. He looked at Tae-hyun, who'd stayed back to give us space. I'm sorry. For keeping you from him. For the pain I caused you. Tae-hyun's expression was complicated, anger, pity, and something like understanding warring on his features. I forgive you, he said finally. Not because what you did was okay. But because I know what it's like to make terrible choices because of love. Seo-jun turned to Ji-woo next. You're a good man. Better than me. Take care of him, okay? Even if, he swallowed hard. Even if it's just as a friend. Don't let him push you away. Ji-woo nodded slowly, his eyes glistening. Finally, Seo-jun looked at me one last time. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Anything. If I hadn't done what I did, if Tae-hyun had never disappeared, if everything had gone the way it was supposed to. He took a shaky breath. Would there ever have been a chance? For us. My heart broke all over again. I wanted to lie to give him some comfort. But he'd asked for honesty. No, I whispered. I'm sorry, Seo-jun. But no. He nodded, tears sliding down his cheeks. Thank you. For not lying to me. Not even now. Hyun-woo stepped forward with handcuffs, but his movements were gentle, almost apologetic. Seo-jun, you're under arrest for forgery, fraud, and conspiracy. You have the right to remain silent. I watched as they led my best friend away, his hands cuffed in front of him, his shoulders slumped in defeat. He looked back once, offering me a sad smile. I'll visit you, I called after him. Every week. I promise. You shouldn't, he called back. I will anyway. As the police car pulled away, I stood at the edge of the Han River with Tae-hyun on one side and Ji-woo on the other, 3 men connected by a web of love and betrayal so tangled I didn't know if we'd ever fully unravel it. What happens now? I asked no one in particular. Ji-woo was the first to speak. Now you decide what you really want, Min-jun? He turned to face me, his expression open and honest. I meant what I said. I love you. But I can't spend my life wondering if I'm your second choice. If you're only with me because your first choice was taken away. Ji-woo. He held up a hand. I'm not asking you to decide right now, but I am asking you to be honest with yourself. With all of us. He glanced at Tae-hyun. You're still legally married to him. That's not just a technicality. That's a truth you need to face. Tae-hyun stepped forward. Min-jun, I'm not going to pressure you. I know I have no right to ask for anything after everything that's happened. But I need you to know. His voice caught. I never stopped loving you. Not for a single day. Every moment I was gone, I was thinking about you, protecting you the only way I knew how. I looked between them, these 2 incredible men who'd both loved me in their own ways. One who'd helped me heal, who'd shown me I could love again. The other who'd been my first love, who'd sacrificed everything to keep me safe. I need time, I said finally. I need time to process everything that's happened. To figure out what's real and what's been built on lies. To understand what I actually want, not what I think I should want. Ji-woo nodded, though I saw the hurt flash across his face. How much time? I don't know. A week? A month? I ran my hands through my hair. I just know that I can't make this decision right now when everything's still so raw. Take the time you need, Tae-hyun said. I'll wait. I've waited 3 years, I can wait longer. And I'll respect whatever you decide, Ji-woo added. But Min-jun? While you're figuring things out, I need to do the same. I need to decide if I can really be with someone whose heart might always belong to someone else. The words hung heavy in the air between us. We stood there for a long moment, the 3 of us at the edge of the water, the city lights twinkling around us like fallen stars. Somewhere across Seoul, Seo-jun sat in a police car, his obsession finally exposed, his future uncertain. Somewhere in this tangled mess of love and lies, there had to be a path forward. I just had no idea what it looked like. I should go, Ji-woo said finally. I have an early shift tomorrow. He touched my cheek gently, his thumb brushing away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. Call me when you're ready to talk. Really talk. He walked away and I watched him go. This kind, patient man who taught me to love again, now walking out of my life because I couldn't promise him my whole heart. Tae-hyun and I stood in silence, the sound of the river filling the space between us. Do you hate me? I asked quietly. For moving on? For falling in love with someone else? No. His answer was immediate. I'm the one who left. I'm the one who, however unintentionally, made you think I'd abandoned you. You had every right to find happiness elsewhere. But I didn't find it, did I? I turned to look at him. I found comfort, safety, a kind of love. But was it the love I felt with you? Was it the love that made me feel like I could conquer the world? I shook my head. I don't know anymore. I don't know what's real. Then figure it out, he said softly. Take your time. I'll be here. What if I choose him? Pain flickered across his face, but he managed a small smile. Then I'll be devastated. But I'll survive. I survived 3 years of hell. I can survive losing you to someone who makes you happy. And what if I choose you? Then I'll spend every day for the rest of my life making sure you never regret it. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Min-jun, this is Hyunwoo. Seo-jun has given a full confession. He's being processed now. He asked me to tell you that he meant what he said. You shouldn't visit him. But I have a feeling you will anyway. I pocketed my phone and looked out at the water one more time. 3 years ago my husband disappeared. 2 years ago I fell apart. 1 year ago I started rebuilding. Tonight I learned that everything I thought I knew was a lie. And tomorrow? Tomorrow I would have to decide who I really was, what I really wanted, and whether love could survive this much betrayal and pain. But tonight I just stood by the river with the man I'd never stopped loving, wondering if some broken things could ever truly be made whole again. 2 days later. The coffee in my hand had gone cold hours ago, but I couldn't bring myself to move from the window of my apartment. Outside, Seoul buzzed with its usual energy, people rushing to work, vendors setting up street food stalls, the endless rhythm of a city that never stopped, even when your entire world had fallen apart. I hadn't slept properly since that night at the Han River. Every time I closed my eyes I saw Seo-jun's face, the desperation, the love, the resignation. I saw Jiwoo walking away. I saw Tae-hyun reaching for me at the altar, rain-soaked and desperate. My phone sat on the coffee table, silent. 48 hours since I'd asked for time, and both Tae-hyun and Jiwoo had respected that request. No calls. No texts. Just silence and the weight of a decision I still didn't know how to make. A knock at the door startled me from my thoughts. I opened it to find Hyunwoo, his detective's badge clipped to his belt, a folder tucked under his arm. Detective Kong, I said surprised. Is everything okay? Is Seo-jun? He's fine. As fine as he can be anyway. Hyunwoo's expression was difficult to read. May I come in? I stepped aside and he entered, his eyes scanning my apartment with professional efficiency, taking in the untouched takeout containers, the rumpled blanket on the couch, the clear signs of someone falling apart. You look terrible, he said bluntly. Thanks. That's exactly what I needed to hear. He almost smiled. My brother sent me. He's worried about you. But he didn't want to violate your request for space by coming himself. My chest tightened. That was so like Tae-hyun, putting my needs above his own desire to see me. I'm managing, I lied. No, you're not. Hyunwoo set the folder on my coffee table. You're drowning in guilt and confusion, trying to make an impossible decision. So I'm here to give you the facts. Because facts are easier than feelings. I don't need facts. I stopped, not knowing how to finish that sentence. You need to understand what really happened. All of it. He opened the folder, revealing documents, photos, statements. I've closed the investigation. Seo-jun confessed to everything. The forgery, the payments to keep Tae-hyun away, all of it. The prosecutor is recommending a reduced sentence given his cooperation and lack of prior criminal history. He'll likely serve 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years. My best friend would spend years in prison because he'd loved me wrong. There's something else, Hyunwoo continued. Something Seo-jun told me during his interrogation that I think you should know. I sat down heavily. What? He started keeping that journal, the one you saw in his apartment, 10 years ago. Back in university. Hyunwoo pulled out a photocopy of an earlier entry. This is from your second year. I took the paper with trembling hands. October 3rd, met Min-jun today at the library. He was stressed about his architecture project, so I bought him coffee and helped him brainstorm ideas. He has the most beautiful smile. I think I'm in trouble. I think I'm falling for my best friend. 10 years, I whispered. He's been in love with me for 10 years. And hiding it for just as long. Hyunwoo's voice was gentle now. Seo-jun told me he'd decided to confess his feelings to you the week after you met Tae-hyun. But then he saw how happy you were with my brother, and he couldn't bring himself to ruin that. So he stayed silent. Stayed your friend. Watched you fall in love with someone else. Tears blurred my vision. That must have killed him. It did. Slowly. Every day. Hyunwoo paused. I'm not excusing what he did, Min-jun. What he did was wrong. Criminal. But I've seen a lot of crimes in my career, and I've learned that sometimes good people make terrible choices when they're in pain. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to forgive him. Eventually. Hyunwoo stood. Not today, maybe not even next year. But someday. Because carrying that anger will poison you more than it will ever hurt him. He moved toward the door, then stopped. One more thing. My brother, Tae-hyun, he wanted me to give you this. He pulled out a sealed envelope. He said not to read it unless you've made your decision. But I'm giving it to you now because I think you need to understand what he went through. What he's still going through. After Hyunwoo left, I stared at the envelope for a long time. Tae-hyun's handwriting on the front. For Min-jun. To be opened only if you choose to walk away. My hands shook as I broke the seal. Min-jun, if you're reading this, it means you've chosen Jiwoo. And I want you to know, I understand. I don't blame you. How could I, when I'm the one who left, even if it wasn't by choice? But I need you to know the truth about those 3 years. The whole truth. The warehouse where they kept me had one small window. Every morning I'd watch the sun rise and wonder if you were watching it too. I'd imagine you waking up in our bed, making coffee in our kitchen, living the life we were supposed to live together. They beat me, Min-jun. When I refused to work, when I tried to escape, when I did anything they didn't like. I have scars now, physical ones that will never fully heal. But those were nothing compared to the pain of not knowing if you were okay. Of wondering if you thought I'd abandoned you. Of imagining you crying yourself to sleep the way I cried myself to sleep every night. The work in Southeast Asia was brutal. Construction sites in 110-degree heat. 16-hour days. Sleeping in cramped quarters with 20 other men. I got malaria twice. Broke 3 ribs when scaffolding collapsed. But I kept going because every day I survived was another day closer to paying off that debt. Another day closer to coming home to you. I kept a photo of us. The one from our wedding day where we're both laughing because you'd accidentally stepped on my foot during our first dance. I'd hidden it in my shoe, and at night I'd take it out and memorize every detail. Your smile. The way your eyes crinkled when you laughed. The happiness radiating from both of us. That photo got me through hell, Min-jun. The memory of your love kept me alive when everything in me wanted to give up. When I finally paid off the debt and came back to Seoul 6 months ago, I spent a week just gathering the courage to look for you. Part of me was terrified you'd moved on. Part of me hoped you had because that would mean you were happy. When I found out you were engaged, my heart shattered all over again. But I also felt relief. Because it meant you'd survived. You'd healed. You'd found someone who could give you the stability and love I couldn't. I was going to let you go, Min-jun. I was going to sign whatever papers needed signing and disappear from your life forever. But then I discovered the divorce was forged, and I couldn't let you commit bigamy unknowingly. I couldn't let your new beginning be built on a legal lie. If you're reading this letter, it means you've chosen Jiwoo. And I want you to know that I'm happy for you. I really am. He's a good man, I can see that. He'll take care of you in ways I couldn't. He'll be there every day, stable and present, not ripped away by circumstances beyond anyone's control. But Min-jun, I need you to know, you were it for me. You are it for me. You were my first love, my only love, my forever love. No matter what happens, no matter who I might meet in the future, a part of my heart will always belong to you. I don't regret anything about our time together. Even the pain of losing you was worth it for the joy of having loved you. Be happy, Min-jun. That's all I've ever wanted. Be happy, live fully, and remember that somewhere in this city, there's a man who would have moved mountains for you. Who still would. All my love, forever and always. Tae-hyun. Yes, I'm keeping that photo. I hope you don't mind. I need something to remember you by. The letter fell from my hands as I sobbed, deep, wrenching sobs that came from somewhere so deep inside me I didn't know it existed. 3 years. 3 years of suffering, of survival, of holding on to the memory of us while I'd been here thinking he'd abandoned me. And he was willing to let me go. To walk away if it meant I'd be happy. My phone was in my hand before I'd consciously decided to pick it up. I pulled up Jiwoo's number, my thumb hovering over the call button. Jiwoo, who'd been patient and kind. Who'd helped me heal. who'd asked me to choose but told me he'd respect whatever I decided. Jiwoo, who I cared for deeply but didn't love the way I loved. The way I still loved Tae-hyun. The realization hit me like a freight train. All this time, I'd been trying to convince myself that what I felt for Jiwoo was enough. That comfortable love, safe love, was better than the passionate, all-consuming love I'd had with Tae-hyun. But it wasn't. Not for me. Not when my heart had never stopped belonging to the man who'd survived hell just to make it back to me. I called Jiwoo. He answered on the second ring. Min-jun. His voice was careful, guarded. Can you meet me? At that cafe near the hospital where we had our first date. Pause. Of course. Give me 30 minutes. The cafe was exactly as I remembered. Warm lighting, the smell of freshly ground coffee, soft jazz playing in the background. Jiwoo was already there when I arrived, sitting at the same table where he'd nervously asked me if I'd like to have dinner sometime 2 years ago. He stood when he saw me, and the hope in his eyes made what I had to do so much harder. Hi, I said, sitting across from him. Hi. He studied my face. You've made your decision. It wasn't a question. I nodded. Jiwoo closed his eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. When he opened them again, there were unshed tears there, but also acceptance. It's him, he said quietly. You're choosing Tae-hyun. I'm so sorry, Jiwoo. You have been nothing but wonderful to me. You helped me heal when I thought I'd never be whole again. You showed me I could love again. My voice broke. But he's your first love. Your true love. Jiwoo reached across the table and took my hand, squeezing gently. I knew, Min-jun. I think I always knew. The way you said his name at the wedding, the way you looked at him, I've never seen that look in your eyes when you look at me. That's not fair to you, I whispered. You deserve someone who looks at you like that. I do, he agreed, surprising me. And I'll find them. Maybe not today, maybe not even this year. But I will. Just like you found your person. Again. I never meant to hurt you. I know. He smiled, though tears were now sliding down his cheeks. And I meant what I said at the river. I can't spend my life as someone's second choice. But Min-jun, I don't regret our time together. You taught me what it means to love someone deeply, even knowing they might not choose you in the end. That's worth something. I was crying now too. Will you be okay? Eventually. He released my hand and stood. I need to go. I have a patient in an hour and I need to pull myself together first. Jiwoo. He held up a hand. One last thing. Take care of him. Tae-hyun, I mean. He's been through hell and he'll need someone to help him heal from that. Be patient with him. Love him the way you couldn't love me. I will. I promise. He nodded, then leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss to my forehead. A goodbye kiss. Be happy, Min-jun. That's all I've ever wanted for you. I watched him walk out of the cafe, out of my life, carrying his broken heart with quiet dignity. Part of me ached for causing him pain. But another part, the part that had been screaming the truth since Tae-hyun walked through those wedding doors, felt a weight lift. I knew what I wanted. Who I wanted. Now I just had to tell him. I found Tae-hyun at his apartment, the same sparse place I'd visited 2 days ago. He answered the door in sweatpants and a t-shirt, his hair damp from a recent shower. His eyes widened when he saw me. Min-jun? Is everything okay? Did something happen? I kissed him. I kissed him the way I'd been wanting to kiss him since he appeared at my wedding. Desperately, completely, without reservation. His surprise lasted only a second before he was kissing me back, his arms wrapping around me, pulling me close as if he'd never let go. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. I read your letter, I said. His face paled. You weren't supposed to, that was only if you chose. I know. But Hyunwoo gave it to me anyway. And Tae-hyun. I cupped his face in my hands. I choose you. I choose us. I've always chosen us, even when I tried to convince myself I hadn't. But Jiwoo. I just saw him. We ended things. It was painful, but it was right. I rested my forehead against his. He deserves someone who loves him completely without reservation. And I deserve to be with the person I never stopped loving. Min-jun, he breathed, his voice thick with emotion. Are you sure? After everything that's happened, after all the pain? I'm sure. I kissed him again, softer this time. You survived 3 years of hell to come back to me. The least I can do is fight through the pain and fear to choose you. He pulled me into the apartment, closing the door behind us. We stood there in his tiny entryway, holding each other like we were afraid the other might disappear. I love you, he whispered into my hair. I never stopped loving you. Not for a single second. I love you too. I'm sorry it took me so long to admit it. You needed time. After everything Seo-jun did, everything I put you through? I pulled back to look at him. What happened wasn't your fault. You were trying to protect me. I know. But I also know that my absence, regardless of the reason, caused you pain. That's something I'll have to live with. Then we'll live with it together. I took his hand, intertwining our fingers. No more running. No more hiding. Just us, facing everything head-on. He smiled, really smiled, for the first time since his return. Just us. 3 months later. The prison visiting room was sterile and cold, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. I'd been coming every week since Seo-jun's sentencing, just as I'd promised. He'd asked me to stop, written me letters begging me not to waste my time on him. I came anyway. He appeared on the other side of the glass partition, thinner than before, his hair cut short, wearing the standard prison uniform. But his eyes looked clearer somehow. Less haunted. You came again, he said into the phone, shaking his head. Min-jun, you really don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. I studied his face. How are you doing? Better, actually. He seemed surprised by his own admission. I've been seeing the prison psychologist. Talking about everything. The obsession, the need for control, the unhealthy way I loved you. He paused. It's hard. Facing all of it. But necessary. I'm glad you're getting help. How are you? How's? He struggled with the name. How's Tae-hyun? I held up my left hand where my original wedding ring now sat. We renewed our vows last week. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. It was perfect. Something flickered across Seo-jun's face. Pain, yes, but also something like genuine happiness. I'm glad. Really, Min-jun. I'm glad you found your way back to each other. Seo-jun, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Always. Do you regret it? Not loving me, but the way you went about it? The forgery, the manipulation, all of it? He was quiet for a long moment. Every single day. Not just because I'm in prison, but because I hurt you. Because I betrayed your trust in the worst possible way. Because I let my love become something toxic instead of something beautiful. He met my eyes. I destroyed our friendship. That's what I regret most. Friendship can be rebuilt, I said softly. It won't be the same. It might never be the same. But Seo-jun, you were my best friend for 10 years. That means something. That's worth fighting for. Tears gathered in his eyes. You're too forgiving. I'm not forgiving you for you. I'm forgiving you for me. Because holding on to that anger was killing me. I pressed my hand against the glass. We're going to get through this. Together. As friends. Real friends this time, built on honesty instead of hidden feelings. He pressed his hand against the glass to mirror mine, tears now flowing freely. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway. We talked for the rest of the visiting hour, about his therapy, about my work, about the mundane details of life that felt precious precisely because they were ordinary. When the guard announced time was up, Seo-jun looked at me one last time. Tell Tae-hyun I'm sorry. For everything. Tell him yourself when you get out. He wants to visit too, actually. If you're okay with that. Seo-jun's eyes widened. Why would he want to? Because forgiveness is radical like that. And because he knows what it's like to make mistakes out of love. I stood. I'll see you next week. I'll be here, he said with a sad smile. Not like I'm going anywhere. 6 months later. Stop fussing with your tie, I told Tae-hyun, swatting his hands away. It looks perfect. I just want everything to be right, he said nervously. We were standing outside a restaurant, not a fancy one but a small neighborhood place known for its excellent Korean barbecue. It will be fine, I assured him, though my own stomach was full of butterflies. The door opened and Jiwoo stepped out. He'd texted me 2 weeks ago asking if we could meet. Asking if he could see us together to finally get closure. He looked good, healthier than the last time I'd seen him, his smile genuine as he approached. Min-jun, Tae-hyun. He bowed slightly. Thank you for agreeing to meet. Of course, I said, returning the bow. How have you been? Good. Really good, actually. We settled at a table and Jiwoo pulled out his phone, showing us a photo of a young man with kind eyes and a bright smile. This is Jae-hyun. We met at a medical conference 3 months ago. He's a physical therapist. Relief and happiness flooded through me. Jiwoo, that's wonderful. It is. His smile was soft, genuine. He's patient and understanding. He knows about our history, I told him everything. And he's willing to love me despite my baggage. That's not baggage, Tae-hyun said quietly. That's your story. We all have one. Jiwoo nodded, then looked at me directly. I wanted to see you, both of you, to say thank you. I spent a long time angry after we ended things. Angry at you, at Tae-hyun, at the situation. But that anger was just covering up hurt. And once I worked through that hurt, I realized something. What? I asked. You gave me a gift. By being honest about your feelings, by choosing Tae-hyun even though it hurt me, you freed me to find someone who could love me the way I deserve to be loved. You freed me to be someone's first choice, not their consolation prize. My eyes stung with tears. Jiwoo. I'm not saying it didn't hurt. It did. It still does sometimes. But I'm genuinely happy for you both. He raised his water glass. To second chances. To healing. To finding love, even in the most complicated circumstances. We clinked glasses, and for the first time since this whole nightmare began, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we were all going to be okay. We talked for hours that night. About Jiwoo's new relationship. About how Tae-hyun was adjusting to civilian life after his ordeal. About my latest architectural project. We talked like old friends, like people who'd been through something difficult together and come out stronger on the other side. When we parted ways, Jiwoo hugged us both. Be happy, he whispered to me, echoing the same words he'd said at the cafe months ago. That's all I ever wanted. You too, I whispered back. You deserve all the happiness in the world. As Tae-hyun and I walked home hand in hand, I marveled at how much had changed in less than a year. How much pain we'd all endured and how we'd somehow found our way through it. What are you thinking about? Tae-hyun asked, squeezing my hand. Everything. How close we came to losing each other forever. How many things had to go wrong for us to end up here. I stopped walking and turned to face him. But also how right this feels. Together. Finally. He pulled me close, kissing my forehead. I'd go through it all again if it meant ending up here with you. Let's not test that theory, I said, making him laugh. We walked the rest of the way home in comfortable silence, the city lights twinkling around us like stars. My phone buzzed with a text from Hyunwoo. Seo-jun's parole hearing is scheduled for next month. Thought you'd want to know. I showed the text to Tae-hyun. Will you testify for him? He asked. Yes. Will you? He nodded. He made terrible choices. But he also loved you in the only way he knew how. That deserves some measure of understanding. I love this man. I loved his capacity for forgiveness, his ability to see the humanity in people even when they'd hurt him. I love you, I said, the words coming easily now. I love you too. Forever this time. Forever, I agreed. 1 year later. The small chapel was decorated with white roses and soft candlelight. This time there were only 20 guests, our closest family and friends. No extravagant ballroom, no 200 witnesses. Just the people who mattered most. I stood at the altar in a simple blue suit, watching as Tae-hyun walked down the aisle. He was stunning in traditional hanbok, his eyes never leaving mine as he approached. This time there would be no interruptions. No dramatic revelations. Just two people who'd loved each other, lost each other, and found their way back. Hyunwoo stood as best man, his usual serious expression softened with genuine happiness for his brother. In the front row, my mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. She'd forgiven us both for the scandal, eventually. And in the third row, wearing civilian clothes for his first day of parole, sat Seo-jun. He'd been released early for good behavior and continued psychological treatment. His eyes were wet with tears, but he was smiling. When Tae-hyun reached the altar, he took my hands in his. Ready? He whispered. So ready. The officiant cleared his throat. We are gathered here today to witness the renewal of vows between Lee Min-jun and Park Tae-hyun. A marriage that was tested by time, distance, and circumstances beyond their control. But as we can see today, true love endures. I barely heard the rest of the ceremony. I was too focused on Tae-hyun's face, on the way his thumbs traced circles on the backs of my hands, on the sheer joy radiating from him. Do you, Lee Min-jun, take Park Tae-hyun to be your lawfully wedded husband? To have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for better or for worse, for as long as you both shall live? I do. My voice was steady, certain. And do you, Park Tae-hyun, take Lee Min-jun to be your lawfully wedded husband? To have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for better or for worse, for as long as you both shall live? I do. Tears spilled down his cheeks. Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you married. Again. The officiant smiled. You may kiss your husband. Tae-hyun pulled me close, and as our lips met, the small chapel erupted in applause. This kiss was different from all the others. It tasted like hope, like healing, like coming home after the longest journey imaginable. When we finally pulled apart, Tae-hyun whispered against my lips, "This time, forever." "Forever," I promised back. At the reception, held in a small garden behind the chapel, I found myself standing with Seo-jun. He looked healthier than he had in prison. The therapy had clearly helped, though I could still see shadows in his eyes. "Thank you for testifying at my hearing," he said quietly. "I know you didn't have to." "Yes, I did. You're my friend, Seo-jun. That never changed, not really." He looked at me with something like wonder. "How do you do that? Forgive so easily?" "It's not easy. And it's not complete. I'm still working through it." I put a hand on his shoulder. "But I choose to try because the alternative is letting what happened poison the rest of my life. And I refuse to give it that power. You're a better person than I am." "No. I just had better examples of forgiveness." I gestured to where Tae-hyun stood talking with Ji-woo and Jae-hyun. The four of us had become unlikely friends over the past months. "Look at them. Ji-woo has every reason to hate us, but instead he brought his boyfriend to our wedding. That's grace, Seo-jun. That's what I want to emulate." Seo-jun watched them for a moment, then turned back to me. "I'm moving. To Busan. My therapist thinks a fresh start would be good for me." My heart sank a little, but I understood. "Will you stay in touch?" "If you want me to." "I do. I really do." He pulled me into a hug. The first real hug we'd shared since before everything fell apart. "Thank you, Min-jun. For not giving up on me. For showing me what real love looks like even if it's not the kind I wanted." "You'll find your person," I said, hugging him back. "Someone who loves you the way you deserve to be loved. Not obsessively, not desperately, but healthily and wholly." "I hope so." He pulled back, managing a genuine smile. "I'll call you when I get settled in Busan." "You better." As the sun began to set over the garden, casting everything in golden light, Tae-hyun found me again. He slipped his arms around my waist from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" he murmured. "Everything. How different this is from our first wedding. How much we've all changed. Do you regret it? Any of it?" I turned in his arms to face him. "I regret the pain. I regret the time we lost. But I don't regret where we ended up. Because this," I gestured at the garden, at our friends and family, at the life we were building together. "This is real. We fought for this. We chose this. That makes it more precious than any fairy tale beginning." He kissed me softly, sweetly. "I love you, Lee Min-jun." "I love you, Park Tae-hyun." Ready to go home? I thought about our apartment, the one we just moved into together, filled with a mixture of new furniture and beloved items we'd saved from our old life. I thought about the future stretched out before us, full of possibility and promise. "Yeah," I said, taking his hand. "Let's go home." As we walked toward our car, I glanced back one last time at the garden. Ji-woo caught my eye and raised his glass in a silent toast. Seo-jun waved, his expression peaceful. Hyun-woo gave us a thumbs up. 3 years ago my world had shattered. 2 years ago I'd begun to rebuild. 1 year ago I'd made an impossible choice. And now I was married to my soulmate, surrounded by people who'd all learned the hard way that love, real love, required honesty, forgiveness, and the courage to choose each other every single day. Tae-hyun opened the car door for me, and as I slid into the passenger seat, I caught sight of something tucked into the sun visor. That photo from our original wedding, the one where we were both laughing because I'd stepped on his foot. He kept it. Through 3 years of hell, through everything, he kept that photo. "You still have it?" I said, my voice thick with emotion. "Of course." He started the car, his hand finding mine automatically. "It was all I had of you for so long. I couldn't let it go. You have the real thing now." He brought my hand to his lips, kissing my knuckles. "I have everything now." As we drove through Seoul toward our home, our real, shared, forever home, I realized that sometimes the greatest love stories aren't the ones that go smoothly from beginning to end. Sometimes the greatest love stories are the ones that fall apart completely and then choose, every single day, to piece themselves back together. This was our story. Messy, complicated, painful, and absolutely worth every moment. This time, forever. And forever started now.